Hi, I'm Stephen S.Sears. I'm the writer of this episode, When in Rome. This episode opens, as you just stated, opens in Gaul. The interesting thing about this episode, for me as a writer, I do a lot of reading with history. This has a lot of history in it that is actual. Xena gets accused many times of messing with history. There are two storylines from history that I borrowed. One of them is the story of a warlord, whose name is hard to pronounce, Vercingetorix or something like that. I shorten it to Vercingetorix to make it easier. He was an actual warlord who served with the Roman army, then left the Roman army and organized the tribes of Gaul to fight the Roman legions, and he successfully did this for a while. The other story has to do with the triumvirate of Rome, which was Caesar, Crassus, and Pompey. So what I actually did is I just took Xena and added her into the mix of all of those real historical stories, just to see what would happen. Our stunt unit was pretty incredible. I was amazed that they were able to shoot these fights as well as they did with the scope that they did. And in fact, many of these fights were shot days or weeks after we finished the actual episode. And the fact that they could just combine them seamlessly, I'm sure many people have watched episodes and not realized where Lucy was in the scene and where a stunt double was in the scene. They're just incredible with this. Now this part of the story here, this is Crassus. And this, once again, in history, this actually happened. Crassus was captured in one of his little adventures, and he was assassinated. But here's the Xena difference. She jumps in and saves him. This is where our history diverges.
The Imperial Ring of Rome.
An important aspect of Xena that she knew a lot of pressure points, not just the pinch on the throat, but a lot of different pressure points in the body. We discussed that quite a bit. How would she know that? And we figured she'd seen enough bodies opened up on the battlefield that she'd know pretty much everything she could be known about. Now, this, I love this. This is how are we going to create Rome?
I want control of the aqueduct.
It was done as a matte shot. We'll talk about that more when we get to the stadium.
With Crassus dead, I can take what I want.
Do and you'll get a civil war. The people are with me, Pompey. It's spectacle. That's what they want. That's what I give them.
The true point was that Caesar did have the favor of the people. That was his power base. Pompey's power was that he had an army. The army followed him. And Crassus's power was more financial. This was the scene I really wanted to do this scene. Xena walks right into the heart of Rome and goes right up to Caesar.
Sorry about your soldiers. We're playing tag in the forum, and I gotta tell you, they don't lose well.
This is Xena.
One of the things to pay attention to in any of the episodes is when there's a plan. At what particular moment does Xena have that plan formulated in her mind? As this episode goes on, there's a very elaborate plan from Xena. And as the writer, working into the mind of Xena, she had that plan completely worked out at this point. For the audience, you needed to be surprised. So there were some red herrings and some, hook, line, and sinkers in there. But for Xena, everything played out almost exactly the way that it was supposed to.
By the time he discovers that it's Crassus in the cell, it'll be too late. And that's the plan, right? The whole plan? What are you getting at? Look, I know you.
Now, this is an interesting point with Gabrielle. Before she would trust Xena implicitly, she's questioning her now.
Yeah, like that.
This is an extremely important change in her. She's becoming an adult. She's starting to stand up to Xena and question what Xena's choices are. Now, here's another seduction scene. This is power seduction. Another thing I look forward to was putting Xena in the middle of Roman politics. I love this.
Because Caesar was taken.
Like you.
But one of the choices that Lucy made here
I'm not a likable
that I really liked was how she deliberately stood out from social customs. Notice the way she's eating the food, cutting up herself. I mean, she's crude. She's the outsider. Even though we know Xena doesn't have to be like that. She's making a deliberate choice. Lucy made that choice for her.
When she says she'd be back?
When she's ready to come back.
Does she often leave you in the dark with her plans?
No.
But she has done it, hasn't she?
One of the things Renee was very good at doing,
I understand. You forget
she could
I'm
play a
lawyer,
lot
too.
just off of her
Many
face,
times if I
without
told my
dialogue.
soldiers my plans, I would have had
I
to
would
give
write something that was as simple as we can see the concern on her face. And she would actually make that a
There are no
major
innocents on
turning
the
point.
battlefield.
And that happens at the end of this scene.
What about the people of Gardinas?
I have yet to figure out exactly how we shot the burning rope sequence you're about to see. I don't know how we did it, but he had to get out of those ropes somehow. When I wrote it, I did not expect that somebody would actually put their hands into the fire to burn the ropes. Boy, that hurts. Look at that. Somebody actually did that. This was a sequence where I actually had written out in my first draft a battle on the top deck between her and Crassus. And it was a nice battle, it was a fine battle. And I was really long on the script, so I thought, well, what if I just cut it out and just had him fly back in? And actually turned out to be much better than the battle.
Look at those people. Look at them. Each one of them considers himself an individual.
Now keep in mind, Caesar's power truly was the people. He could not disappoint the people. And that's what I used in this particular case. I wanted to put him up against a wall where he had to do something he did not want to do. But if he didn't do it, he would lose his power base. Now this scene was one that when I wrote it, the whole battle, I get a little verbose in my action description. Some writers just write Xena fights. I tend to actually write the whole choreography, but I make sure it's understood to the stunt people that it's just a guide. They do what they do best.
We are gathered here to mark the
But to
end
give
of
the
an
sense of
era.
a stadium, this is
The end
called
of
flocking.
resistance in Gaul.
It's something that
Resistance
Rob and Sam
led
used to
by
do
the
on their,
evil
Sam Raimi and
barbarian
Rob Tapert used to do on their
Vercingetorix.
films, actually, which is done a lot now. We probably only had maybe 10 extras or 15 extras. Lock off the camera so it doesn't move, and you move them around different locations. And
Of the Gauls,
when you
and
put
an enemy
all
of
those different
Rome.
locations together, it looks like this huge
Xena,
crowd.
the warrior princess.
Because we did not have a stadium. We had a wall, and then we built a bunch of mini walls past that. And even I was surprised when I saw this. The set decoration, the angles, just amazing. Look at that. I'm still amazed by that. I worked on that show. Isn't that great? I can't take credit for any of that stuff you're looking at right now, but look at that. It looks like we actually have this going on. I still think this is one of the more incredible visual fights that we've had in the show. And that's in a pretty large list of incredible shots. But the matching of all the flocking, the stadium size, the horse maneuvering, visually it's just incredible. Now, for me, there are two lines of plot in this particular episode. One is getting Vercingetorix free. That's the straight line plot. But what is the heart of the story? The heart of the story is what's going on with Gabrielle right now. That's the heart of the story. Without telling that part of the story, the rest of this is just dancing around, jumping, fighting each other. The important aspect of this is that Xena's been waiting to see Gabrielle. That's her cue. We wonder why it's been so easy to defeat her and beat her up. And we know she's a hero. See, there's Gabrielle. Somehow Xena picks her out of all those people. It's that connection they have. We can't even talk about that. So now she knows, okay, I can cut loose. I'm going to stop pretending. That was a great shot bringing down that horse. My dad one time went for a walk in his neighborhood in Florida, And he saw this guy who was about 80 years old doing swordplay in his front yard. And my dad said, "Why are you doing that?" And the guy said, "Oh, I just watched my favorite show, Xena." And then he turns to my dad and he said, "You know, you should watch that. There's a guy on there with his name S.Sears, just like yours." And my dad said, "I know, that's my son." And the guy said, yeah, right. But seriously, you should watch it. And that's where we find out that Gabrielle made her choice. She started this episode by saying, "I cannot be a party to some man's death when it's unnecessary." Or actually just some man's death. And now she is an active participant in his death. That's an important change for the character. It's a huge change. This is where Gabrielle came of age. In my mind, this is where she realized not just that she has an opinion, she's already voiced that, but that she has a responsibility, that her actions have repercussions, and that she has to make choices in the world.
But I know you were right.
And she's got to let go of her preconceived notions of the idealism of the world. When she went off with Xena 3 years ago, she was hoping to see this wonderful world. And the world's been attacking her ever since, because it's a harsh world, and she's tried to hold on to whatever she could. But to survive in this world, you have to understand the reality of it. You have to make choices, and it was something she'd been holding out on. She knew a long time ago that this was going to happen. Not this particular incident, but that this kind of a moral choice would happen.
You are the most dear thing.
But she tried to hold on to her naivete.
And yet instead of protecting
actively.
you, I'm here because I want to be.
So this discussion, though, about between Xena and Gabrielle at this point, this is truly Xena feeling regretful about, let's face it, she used Gabrielle throughout this entire thing, and she feels bad. But this part right here, the dropping of that ring, that's her letting go. That is Gabrielle letting go of her preconceptions of the world and her place in it. Her letting go of the naivete. By dropping that ring, she's made a choice. She said, "I understand what I have to do, and I understand the responsibilities. And even with this on my conscience, I still want to follow you." Well, that's the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it again, and it brings back a lot of good memories. So thanks a lot. Take care.